Welcome back to Voice of the Bible. Here the stories of Scripture come alive, not just as lessons, but as journeys through faith, courage, and the divine promises that shape lives. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect moment. Take a deep breath, calm your thoughts, and step into the story of God's covenant with Abram, as it is written in the Bible, Genesis 15, 1-21. Open your ears, your heart, and your imagination as we journey into the night skies and sacred promises that would shape generations. Abram sat outside his tent in the quiet of the Negev. The sun had dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in crimson, violet, and deep indigo. A gentle breeze rustled the tents and olive trees, and the faint sound of distant livestock filled the evening air. Despite the wealth, the land, and the promise of God, Abram's heart was troubled. He thought of his own life. He was advanced in age, and Sarai had borne him no children. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward." Genesis 15:1. Abram's eyes lifted to the vast sky. Stars glittered like scattered diamonds. He pondered silently. How can I have descendants when I have none? How can a nation rise from me when I am old and barren? God's voice, gentle yet commanding, reassured him. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward." Abram's doubts did not vanish instantly, but faith began to rise, fragile yet persistent, like the first light of dawn. God continued, "This man will not be your heir, but a son coming from your own body will be your heir." Abram listened, heart pounding. Every word echoed across the hills and valleys of Canaan. The soft rustle of olive trees seemed to affirm the message, while the distant mountains stood like silent witnesses to God's promise. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Genesis 15:6. Imagine Abram lifting his eyes again to the stars, counting them in wonder, imagining generations yet to come. His belief was not blind. It was anchored in the voice he had heard, the path he had walked, and the promises he had received. God instructed Abram, "To your descendants I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates." Abram's mind raced with images of fertile valleys, flowing rivers, and lands stretching beyond his sight. The wind carried faint scents of desert flowers, olive groves, and distant rivers blending into the night air. To seal the promise, God commanded Abram to prepare a symbolic covenant. Cut animals in half and arrange them opposite each other. Smoke and fire to pass between the pieces, signifying God's eternal commitment. Abram obeyed, heart racing, as the sacred ritual unfolded under the stars. The smell of incense, the soft crackle of fire, the distant sound of night creatures, all testified to the solemnity of the moment. As Abram slept, a deep, heavy sleep fell upon him. A vision came, a thick, oppressive darkness, shadows of nations rising and falling, his descendants enduring exile in a foreign land for 400 years. Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. Genesis 15:13. Abram awoke, heart pounding, understanding the weight of God's promise. Though trials lay ahead, hope and faith would endure. God reassured him, "But I will punish the nation they serve, and afterward they will come out with great possessions." Genesis 15:14. The covenant was not only about blessing, but also about guidance, protection, and eventual triumph. As the night deepened, a smoking fire pot with a blazing torch passed between the pieces of the animals. It was a visible sign of God's presence, a solemn assurance that His promises were eternal. God named the lands that would one day belong to Abram's descendants: the territory of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Kadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. Genesis 15:19-21. Abram watched in awe. The stars above, the quiet desert, and the solemn ritual all testified, God's covenant is unbreakable. Faith is rewarded. Obedience invites blessing. Abram's heart swelled with gratitude. Every fear, every doubt, every hardship faced thus far became a stepping stone toward divine purpose. God's covenant with Abram teaches timeless truths. Faith is believing even when the promise seems impossible. Genesis 15:6. God's plans encompass both blessing and trials. Genesis 15:13-14. Divine assurance requires both obedience and trust. Genesis 15:9-17. The future is known to God. Our responsibility is faith and action. Genesis 15:18-21. Imagine Abram sitting under the endless sky, stars reflecting in his eyes, the cool desert wind brushing his face, and the echo of God's voice lingering like a sacred melody. His journey had only begun, but the covenant ensured that every step forward was guided and purposeful. Thank you for joining today's fully expanded episode of Voice of the Bible. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe. In the next episode, we will explore the miraculous birth of Isaac and how God fulfills His promises even when the odds seem impossible. Until then, stay blessed and keep listening to the Voice of the Bible.